Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to the School of Impact podcast. Today I have a little bit more of a rant, so buckle up. This may offend the heck out of you. You may be triggered by this, and if so, I hope you look at this as a mirror and be able to implement some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about into your freaking life and into your business. So this has been one of the things that's held me back for a very long time in my business. And I see this happening to so many coaches, so many entrepreneurs. And what this is stuck in the learning mode. We're stuck in this consumption mode all of the time, where we're constantly consuming other people's marketing, but we're very seldom implementing our own marketing. And we may very well be doing things, right? We may be actually creating and implementing. And I'll talk about the opposite side where you're over creating. Okay, that's a problem too. But what happens is I see all of these people constantly consuming and learning because it feels good, right? It feels good to consume. It feels good to learn. But the truth is that if all you're doing is consuming with a little implementation, even if you're dude, I am implementing, I could tell you right now that you're not freaking growing. I could tell you for a fact that you're not growing. And if you are, it's by a little bit. And I'm saying not to attack you. I'm not trying to attack anybody here. I'm saying this just truth be told. Okay? Because what happens when we overconsume content, whether it's us buying courses or reading books, it's we fill our heads with all of this good information. And when we do that, we start to get overwhelmed with what we should be doing. We're getting pulled. We have all of these open loops inside of our head, and it's absolutely killer. Okay? And then the same is true if you're over creating. If all you're doing is creating, but you're not implementing. And so let's go ahead and distinguish consumption versus creating versus implementing. Okay? I know I titled the podcast, Stop Consuming, Start Creating, right? But we want to make sure there's a distinction between creation and implementation. And so how much is enough? When you're first starting out, or you're trying to hit a next benchmark, whether it's you going from 0 to 10K in your business, or from 10K to 30K or whatever, right? It doesn't matter where you're going. There's going to be a certain level of consumption, okay? I think, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not saying this is fact, but this is what I do. When I'm first learning something, I will put 70% of my time into consumption, right? And I'll limit myself. And I'm super guilty of this, by the way. So when I'm saying this, I'm super guilty. I will put a lot of time into consuming multiple different programs for different things, not the same thing, right? But I'll learn speaking from this program. I'll learn organic marketing from this different things. That's actually not good too. Here's what I found. That I will come up with the topic that I want. Say I'm trying to learn how to grow a $100,000 per month business. I will say, okay, the first thing I do, and write this down, y'all. I encourage you to write this down. This is what you got to do, is you set your goal. And then the first thing I ask myself before I join a program or anything is, who do I have to become? Who do I have to become? Because what got you here won't get you there. And so the first thing I say is, who do I have to become? And then once I'm okay, what are the beliefs of that person? So if I want to become a $1 million coach, right? Who do you have to become? What are the beliefs of a $1 million coach? What are the beliefs of that identity? It's the same thing if a client's trying to get really freaking fit. And all they're doing is dieting and but they're trying to get really fit. Not just lose a couple pounds, they want to be fit. But all they're doing is dieting and stuff. Sure, they're doing something, right? They're implementing some, but it's they're not actually becoming a new person. So the first thing I do is who do I have to become? What are the beliefs that I have to have? Does that make sense? The second thing, and by the way, if you're watching this live, if you're listening on the podcast, you could circle back and we'll have some recordings. But if you're watching this live, I will be doing inside of our free Facebook group, I will be doing the start of the in-demand coach workshop today. It's a 3-day workshop teaching coaches how to get clients from social media, how to use video marketing specifically to get clients from social media. So if you want to be in that workshop, make sure you're over there at 12 p.m. Eastern. That was a little side Plug right there. Anyways, who do you have to become? So once you have those beliefs, think about what are the skills that person has. What skills does that person have? Right? Now, we just released a couple different podcast episodes on the mindsets of an in-demand coach, right? Of some of the skill sets. So what are some of those skills that you would have to have for that new identity? And so, if you're trying to say get to $1 million business, obviously use your own goals here. I'm just giving you an example, okay? If you're trying to get to $1 million business, then, okay, obviously you're going to have leadership skills. You're going to have good communication skills. Another shameless plug. I could teach you that. The third thing is you have to be able to know how to market yourself. Another skill is you have to know how to sell yourself, right? It's different to market and different to sell, right? You have to know how to craft and communicate an offer, right? You're going to have to know how to present, right? Especially if you're wanting to do master classes and things like that. And so you list down all of the skills that and if you're not sure what skills, it's called Google, or it's called a mentor. Just like hit up a mentor or reach out to somebody that maybe already has those results and ask them, right? You can hit at me. I'll tell you what skills that I think you need. But there, right? So you come up with the skills and then you're like, okay, how can I acquire those skills? Right? So for example, if you're like, hey, I know I need to communicate better. I need to know how to communicate my message better. One of the skills you would need is obviously communication, right? Crafting an offer. And so it's like, how can I get those skills? That's where I start looking to now consume. So now I'm going to find a coach, right? If you're trying to communicate, you could hit up me, right? You're like, let me hit up Jason so I can figure out how to start communicating and getting clients through live video and through speaking, right? But now now you have a direction. And so once you choose how you're going to learn, I am a big believer in just hiring a coach, and I'm sure most of you are too. If you're watching this, good chance you're probably a coach, right? So my assumption is that you believe in coaching. And so I believe in just hiring a freaking mentor or coach, right? I don't want to sit there and try to scrape up pieces. The last thing I want to do with my time is, attend all of these different free things and have all of these different pieces of a puzzle that don't really fit together. I would rather just go straight to the source and be like, yo, this is what I do, right? Right now, one of my mentors is Taki Moore from, he runs this company called Black Belt, right? It's like, I just go to him. I'm like, yo, I want to go to this next level, right? Show me what the heck works. You already know, and the same thing with speaking. I sought out the best speakers, the people that are already crushing it. I'm like, yo, just teach me what the heck you're doing. That's where I start going to consume, right? Does that make sense? And so I will put 70% of my time into one source. I will read one book at a time, not two, one book at a time. And I was very guilty of doing multiple things in the past. Now I will only consume one program at a time. One. And this will come all the way down to having one project at a time. If you're in my world, you know that I love to do these 6-week sprints where it's you just take a focus and you run with it. But the problem is, so you have that 70% at the beginning, which means you have 30% of time for implementation, right? The problem is when we have 30% of our time at the beginning and we're trying to do multiple different things, right? We're focused on building a program, marketing our program. We're focused on different marketing strategies, right? Facebook, TikTok, all of these things. Our 30% gets freaking stretched. And it's called, there's this thing, you can Google it. It's called context switching. Context switching. And when we start context switching, we're moving from one thing to the other and we are never truly closing a loop. It's kind of like, if you ever see, I live by the water, so we always see people working on bridges, where if somebody's building a bridge to an island, right? And they start to build that bridge, but then they stop, and then they come and start building another bridge, and it makes it a little past the first bridge they were building, and then they stop, and then they go build another, and it's they keep moving. Are you ever gonna reach the island? Probably not, and if you do, it's gonna take a long time. And so the key here is, now once you know what you're consuming, right, and you're all in, you're focused on that consumption, then you want to move over into one project so you can make it to the island, or at least to the point of the island where you can now hand off the baton to another project. That's probably a terrible analogy, but you can move to another project. And so now you want to have one focus at a time, especially if you're small. If you already have a big team and you're like doing 100K and you have a big team, then yeah, you could probably do a couple projects at a time because you got more people. But this is the key concept, y'all. Now, once you're in motion and you feel like you put 70% of your time into learning, and this could be for some people a couple months. It maybe just takes a couple months of like 70% consumption. Then you want to start moving down, right? You want to start just continuing to focus on the thing that you're building, the project, and you want to put 70% of your time into building the thing, 30% into consumption. Yeah? Does this make sense? This is where I'm at right now. I'm in 30% learning, 70% creating and implementing. Does that make sense? And so I want you to ask yourself that right now. Where are you in terms of your goal for this year or this quarter, right? Where are you? Have you been stuck in this cycle of just consumption with a little bit of creating? Are you like 90% consumption, 10% implementation? Like, where are you? If you had to just, get out of your head for a second and just be honest with yourself, where are you right now? This is not for me. This is for you. So you have to be honest with yourself. Yeah? And how can you balance this out, right? How can you start to move from more implementation and less consumption? Ask yourself these questions. Like, what are the things that you have to do? So now that you know who you have to become, you know the identity, you know the beliefs that you have to have, you've come up with some skill sets. Don't overthink this. Just some basic skill sets that you feel like you should have. Then you've identified how you're going to learn. And let me just do a little side, because I know I'm going to get this question. Is it okay to be doing multiple programs at a time? As I said, I would focus on sticking to one. My answer to this question just depends on your experience with implementation, right? Like, I've been in a mastermind. So I've actually in the past year, I've been in a mastermind. That's like my main focus for learning like business systems and skills, right? For upgrading, to get to the the multiple $1 million. The second thing is I wanted to become better at speaking. I'm like pretty good, right? But law of the lid, I always know I can get better. So I hired somebody for learning how to speak and throw better events. The third thing is I wanted to have a really good, a hero program, like a program that somebody enters and they come out the hero, right? For us, it's they come out knowing exactly how to get consistent clients in their business through freaking speaking on live video. That's like really big. And so I hired a consultant for that. But the thing is, I have people that can help me, right? And so we dedicated blocks for that, some blocks for this, but the main focus, my consumption was very directed. Like, I wasn't consuming this other stuff, and I'm already pretty far ahead in my journey, right? So you want to ask yourself, where are you? And if you're just starting and trying to get to 10K, my friend, you just got to focus. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, if you were in my program and you're trying to get to $10,000 a month, that's not that difficult for most of you that are selling medium to high ticket programs. Like, there's other programs that can help you get to 10K. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what program you're in to get to 10K. The key is, if you're in a program right now, just freaking focus. Just like show up and focus. If you just can show up for yourself and literally give yourself the time to just implement and learn and get better, you'll grow. Like, what I like to teach people is this, and you can write this down. I'm going to give you, I know I'm kind of going off. This is a huge tangent. I'm hoping this is a valuable tangent for you. If you're finding value in this and you're listening on the live, just let me know. Just put yes, because I'm going off on a soapbox. This is what I call a soapbox live, but I hope it's valuable. And so here's what you got to do if you want to get to $10,000 per month using video. You can write this down. The first thing that you have to do is connect with your audience. Connect with your audience. That's the first thing that you have to do, is connect with your audience. And the way you connect with your audience is you have to have a very sharp message that stands out, right? Like, I'm not a business coach. I help people monetize live video, right? It's way different. So think about your niche. Like, how are you different than everybody else? Make sure your audience knows that. The second thing you have to do to connect with your audience is you have to be able to have topics that are congruent with your messaging, right? I like to call this weekly clients. Like we teach our students now like this process to get clients every week, but it all comes from your messaging, and you just want to be able to come up with topics that both connect with people, because that's what attracts, and topics that also convert people, that basically get them to move their ass, right? That's what we're trying to do with convert. And so those are the two ways, right? So write those down. You have to have a message that really stands out, and then you have to have topics that allow you to communicate that message in a way that both attracts people and converts them, okay? The second thing you have to do is you have to be able to captivate your audience, okay? This is true. I don't care if you're doing video, especially with video, but you also, even with written posts, when you captivate your audience. How do you captivate? What does captivate mean? It's keep the attention of. And so to do that, you can use things like, I don't have anything available. I was gonna say, you could use like props, right? You have to be able to hook somebody in. In the hook, you can use props. You wanna have a good headline. The first 7 seconds of your video has gotta be amazing. You've gotta know some basics of storytelling, right? So you can attach a little story or a metaphor like I did earlier with the bridge and all that stuff, right? To the topic. This is what keeps people's attention. You know? And then you wanna be able to align beliefs. You gotta be able to align beliefs. Like once you've maximized engagement, you've got to align beliefs. I encourage you to write this down. The old way of marketing is like, here's some things, right? Here are the benefits that you'll get from it. The new way of marketing is to help your audience see things differently. Write this down. To help your audience see things differently. And so you have to align people's beliefs. This is one of the things that makes our program really freaking unique. I know I'm like shamelessly plugging whatever, but whatever. It's my show. Is we teach people how to influence and how to persuade. It's in and if you're in the program and you're like, I haven't seen that yet, we actually just put new trainings in. It's in module number 4. Module number 4. So if you're in the program, module number 4. It's influence. It's called align beliefs, literally. And then, so now the third thing that you have to do is convert. Duh, right? Convert. And so how do you convert? Well, you have to be able to book calls, right? If you're an online coach, there's a probably good chance that you're taking like sales calls, right? You have to book calls. Unless you're selling from like a landing page, you got to get people to a landing page. But I think for most people, you're booking calls, right? And so you have to learn how to book calls. These are some of the main skills that you'll need. And to do so, you just have to get people to raise their hands in your audience. I don't know why I'm so blurry. You have to be able to get your people in your audience to basically raise their hands and say, I'm interested. And so partly, this is mastering your CTA. Your CTA is a call to action. Yeah? Got to be able to do this. And then outside of that, there's something freaking magical in expanding your reach. Most people just don't focus on this. You know, where a lot of people go into is like they expand their reach in they just like Facebook friend request people, and that's cool, and I'm not downing that. I think that's like, if you're on Facebook, you should definitely be like leveraging that, but they stop there. And where I'm freaking pushing people is to book stages, is to get out on podcasts, to get out on other live streams, on collabs. Like, this is how I've grown my gym. This is how I grew my online fitness business. This is how I've been growing this business and my audience. It's just stages. In fact, you might have heard from me from another person's podcast or another person's page, right? And so you've got to make sure that you're doing this. This is key. And what's really cool is one of the new additions that we're adding into our program. I've got a handful of our students now, of our clients now, that I'm actually building this out for in the next couple weeks. But something new that we're adding in is we're actually going to be booking the stages for you. So once we teach you how to communicate your message and you're like, yo, I'm freaking confident, I feel good, I'm getting clients, we're then going to actually book you on stages. That way we get rejected for you, right? Because this is what stops a lot of people is, you know, they start hitting this wall of like, I don't want to reach out to somebody who's, what if I get rejected? So we're just going to get rejected for you. It's all good, right? And so that way you can get your message and expand your reach to more and more people. So anyways, y'all, I know this was a big rant today, so let's go ahead and recap this off. I encourage you to take some notes right here, because again, it's not about consuming, it's about creating and implementation. And so the main purpose of me sharing this was I've just been seeing this all of the time. I'm a part of a lot of different groups. I do a lot of different market research, and I just have seen that coaches that are struggling to grow right now, they're just over consuming, and or they could just be over creating. Okay. And so the concept here is when you're first learning, when you're like, I have no idea how to get to this goal, it's about 70% consumption, 30% implementation. But after then you want to balance that. So after a couple months of you learning, then you want to start doing 70% creating and implementing, 30% learning. And so my advice was to first think about your goal, think about the identity, who you have to become, what the beliefs are, and then write down a list of skills. And then from there, your job is to learn those skills. It's to literally just learn those skills. Of course, there's some mindset stuff. I just did an episode on that, so I'm not going to talk too much about that today. But it's essentially just learning those skills and figuring out how best going to do that. Sometimes it's through books. Sometimes it's through hiring a mentor. There's different ways you can go about it, but learning those skills. Think about the time that you want to invest. When somebody comes to us, everything that I just shared with you, that's literally our program. I just give you the framework for the skills, and you just have to implement them. I give it to you on a platter, kind of like building Legos. It's here's how you build a Lego, right? And now you just have to build it. You just have to do it, right? So there's different ways you can do it. And then from there, you want to make sure that you are focused on one project at a time. A great book. I got to be careful if I give you too many recommendations on with the title of this podcast. I love the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. He talks about the power of focus in one. So really just kind of honing in and focusing on one project at a time. Absolutely key to your growth. Some projects can take you 2 weeks. Some can take you 6 weeks. But once you work on the project, it now becomes a process. And the last little thing I'm going to add, if you're still listening, I'm going to give you some gold. I see this happen to a lot of people. They do a project. Let's just say a project is you're going to get good at speaking on video. You're going to get good at your organic marketing stuff, right? Like your stories, your basically doing the organic marketing. But then you start moving on and you don't make it a process. That means it stops happening consistently. And this is another big thing that I see with a lot of entrepreneurs, where it stops happening consistently and therefore you stop growing. And so you want to make sure that when you do complete a project, that it's now become a process, right? And your projects should always align with your goal. So if your goal is to get to 100 clients, is the project you're working on going to help you get to 100 clients? Yes or no? And then once you complete it, you've got to make it a process. Otherwise, it just falls apart, right? And then, of course, you can have somebody doing it. So once it's a process, you don't have to be the one managing all of the things. You can have somebody actually do it, right? We'll save that for another episode. And then I just shared with you a bunch of the skills, so you can kind of go back through this episode and listen to those skills again. But the big pillars are: you've got to connect with your audience, you've got to captivate your audience, and you've got to convert your audience. Like that, my friend, will get you easily to 10K a month, if not more. Quite frankly, I think it can get you a lot more than that, but minimum 10K. So if you just learn the skills of communicating your message, of connecting with your audience, communicating, captivating your audience, and converting them, you'll be good. So anyways, I hope you found this episode valuable. If you're on the live stream, let me know what your biggest takeaway was today. Drop it in the comment section. If you're on the podcast, just shoot me a message. I know if you're on the live stream, you can head on over to your favorite podcast app. Make sure to subscribe so you get notified when we drop new episodes. And leave a rating and review. Let me know what you thought about the podcast, whether today's your first episode or not. You can listen to a couple and let me know what you thought. Leave that rating and review. I love to see them, and it's also super helpful for us when we get ratings and reviews for the algorithm, y'all. So that'll be awesome. And of course, I'm breaking the golden rule of call to actions. This is 3 in a row, but it's whatever, dude. I'm in a rare mood today. If you want to be part of the In-Demand Coach Workshop, it starts in 3 hours at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so if you want to be included in that workshop live, make sure you head on over to the Facebook group. I'll be starting a couple minutes early. If you're listening to this in the future on the recording or on the podcast and you want access to the recordings of this workshop, again, it's designed to help you get clients from video marketing. And so I'm going to teach you all the fundamentals of how to actually do it. So by the end of this workshop, you will know exactly how to be able to get 8, 9, 10 plus clients every single month from videos. Okay. That's the promise of the workshop, and that's what I'm going to deliver to you. And so if you want those and you want the recordings, make sure just to reach out to me. You can shoot me a message and just say the word workshop recording, or just say the word workshop, and I'll know what that means. Okay. With that being said, guys, I'm out. It's time to go prepare for today's workshop. Remember, stop consuming, start implementing. That's all I got. All right. I'll see you in the next one. Remember, your message matters now more than it ever has before. So get out there and speak it and have faith, stay focused, and take aligned action.